This is the Tiki and Tierney Show. Tick-tock. Tick-tock.
Is that down to opening day, or is that down to Aaron Rodgers?
That is to everything, Tiki. That is to opening day, which is rapidly approaching for both the Yanks and the Mets. That is for the Green Bay Packers and the New York Jets to get off their asses and make this one happen.
Forget the Green Bay Packers right now. This is about the New York Jets. And people call me a Jet hater. I'm not a Jet hater. I'm a Jet keep it realer. Let's put it that way.
A Jet truthist?
The truthist, yes, exactly. The Jets need to take charge of this situation because it seems like it's starting to get a little bit out of hand. It's starting to turn into a he said situation with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And it's like they're two I don't know, members of a family or lovers or whatever that are talking around each other but not to each other, and it's creating chaos for everybody else who's kind of inching into the conversation. And the Jets are that team that are inching into the conversation. Now, I hear, Robert Saleh and I hear Joe Douglas yesterday at the owners' meetings talking about, where's the progress on this Aaron Rodgers situation? And we all know it's going to take a while. It's probably going to go till June because of the cap implications for the Packers, but it's still a talking point. And the things I'm hearing are, we're really confident it's going to happen. We're also hearing, we're just trying to negotiate in good faith with the Packers. Forget the Packers. Forget making the Packers feel good about themselves. The Jets have to start owning this situation, and more importantly, BT, owning their future. If this gets screwed up for the Jets because the Packers and Aaron Rodgers are talking around each other, and eventually they talk to each other, and he's like, all right, I'm going to retire because I want to be a Packer for my whole life, or I want to stay here and give it one more run. This is after they start talking to each other, Yep. Give it one more run. The Jets are absolutely screwed if that happens. They are screwed. Now, they've gotten some good players, Alan Lazard and some others, because of this Aaron Rodgers speculation, but to my mind, the Jets have to start taking control of this. And if that means engaging with Lamar Jackson, even at the expense of pissing off the Green Bay Packers, you got to start doing that because this is their future. This is the Jets' future, not the we got to placate the Packers and make them feel okay about trading Aaron Rodgers to us. They got to own this more. And it's starting to get frustrating listening to this passive talk about Aaron Rodgers, like they're dancing on eggshells with Aaron or the Packers, and we can't say too much. We got to do this the right way. No, own this, man. This is your team. This is your future. Joe Douglas, you drafted the hell out of it, and free agents the hell out of it the season last year. You got so much talent on this squad. Own it, man. Own it. Stop placating to the powers that be, that is the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. It's actually starting to get frustrating to me listening to this waffling that's going on with this Aaron Rodgers situation.
Tune the noise out because there is nothing to worry about. There's nothing to fear.
Until there is.
There is no possibility Rodgers will not be a New York Jet, and there is zero possibility the Packers get what they want, which is the first round pick.
I want to agree with you so bad.
Well, then just do it because that's the easy side of the street. You're taking the long route to get here. This is basically a done deal. This is going to be 2 second-rounders. I think the holdup here, Teak, is whether or not one of them becomes a number one. But I think the big issue is whether or not Green Bay, they're calling it obviously like give-back protection in the event that Rodgers plays 1 year and then doesn't want to play anymore. Mm-hmm. If the Jets obviously give up whatever they give up, anticipating he's playing 2 years, they want to have some sort of funnel back from the Packers, which I get.
But listen, they can't control that. Nobody can control that.
Sure they could, because they make no deal until they actually get what they get. The Packers have no leverage.
I mean, they can't control what Aaron Rodgers is going to do.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that, but you got to protect yourself. It's like you get in a car, you better have insurance.
Yeah, but
you're getting an aging Hall of Famer who's a little erratic with his plans. You better have insurance in case he walks away after a year. Listen, I said a while ago, and not even really pertaining to the Rodgers stuff, just big picture about the Jets. The thing that's been very frustrating about the Jets, aside from all the losses, is that, the Jets were nowhere near being a world-class organization. And I think too many, and they're striving to do that now, and I think they're taking steps in the right direction. They're nowhere near that yet until they actually punch through and win. But I think when you look at the 10-year window before Joe Douglas got here, part of being a great franchise, certainly in the NFL, I think the other sport, the NBA is a little different. Get a great player, changes everything, whatever. Football's different. You need connections around the league. You got to know people. You've got to have great comfort. You've got to have great familiarity. You've got to have a great drafting acumen and drafting sensibility. All those things add up to a team that's going to be good and be good for a while. And when Idzik was here and McCagnon was here, they had nothing. I hear what you're saying about not placating the Packers. I just interpret it differently. It doesn't matter what Joe Douglas says publicly. Privately, he's got him by the short ones. Yeah, the Packers know that. Douglas knows that. Rodgers is not going back there. And your point about Lamar, here's where I'm going to really challenge you, all right? You see, to me, that's cavalier to even put it out there on the most basic level. All right, Packers, won't mess around. We're going to get Lamar.
I'm not even saying tell the Packers that you're going to get Lamar, but you got to be doing work on Lamar Jackson.
Well, that's where becoming a big-time organization, that's where you do that privately. You take the person that you trust the most in the franchise that you used to work for, that's the Baltimore Ravens, and say, listen, you and I know Packers ain't getting what they want, but if this thing blows up last second, we're on speed dial. We want Lamar. That's it.
As long as that's happening, then I'm okay with it.
Do you think it's happening?
I don't think it's happening.
Why?
I think that they are so locked in on Aaron Rodgers that they are focused on trying to get this trade done. They're trying to get him reunited with Nathaniel Hackett. They're trying to accelerate themselves at the expense of some team building, but it's worth it because the Jets need to win. I mean, at the end of the day, you and I have the same bottom line.
Yep.
Win or else.
Yes.
Right? See you later, bring in another regime here, right? So we know that they have to do those things in order to win. But I think they're so focused, and it's taken so much energy. There's been so much rhetoric, and I don't want to call it nonsense because it's obviously inching towards a goal. But there's been so much up and down and question marks and this happening or not happening with this Aaron Rodgers situation that the Jets they've had to focus on Aaron Rodgers. But for the sake of their team, they have to be doing stuff on other options. And to me, that's Lamar Jackson. He's the most available other star that's out there right now. And, you know, it's not going to be a short-term deal. It's not something that you're worried about for a year or two. It's something that could take you for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. And honestly, it's more interesting to me if I'm a Jet fan, if I could get Lamar Jackson. But I know where the focus is, but they got to start taking control of this situation instead of letting it turn into whatever it has become over the last week and a half.
So it's 10:09 on the Fan Tiki and Tierney Show inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Once again, my partner waltzes in, and he's the alarmist. Yesterday, while I'm reveling in the promotion and elevation of Anthony Volpe, he's telling me about the Yankees rotation, which is in tatters right now. I get that. Today, I'm feeling good. Everybody's talking about Rodgers on TV, and he's telling me that they should basically have a pivot plan and it might blow up. And
do you not agree they should have a pivot plan?
They do, but I think that they do. Yes, I do. Fundamentally, I agree. I just don't think you're public with it. Listen, there's there's only two things that I'm concerned about. Number one, will the Jets get Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely. Done. Number two, and I've been saying that for 3 months now. Number two, will the Jets win the trade? Absolutely. They're not getting 13 this year. Tough. I mean, Green Bay can. It's funny.
The 13th pick, yeah.
13th pick this year. In a lot of ways, Green Bay, to me, is coming across the amateur franchise, and the Jets look like the savvy poker player. We'll play all night. We'll sit here, man. We're bringing home the chips.
I will say this. The Packers, surprisingly, and maybe this is because they don't have an owner. You know, we bring this up multiple times. The Packers, surprisingly, are the reactionary team. Like they're having to react to everything. There hasn't been any leading of this conversation around Aaron Rodgers from the Packers. They've only reacted. And Aaron Rodgers got on Pat McAfee a week or so ago, and he said, my intention is to play for the Jets. And, you know, I was surprised. And again, Aaron said this publicly. I was surprised that they were shopping me behind their back, when it seems like the truth is definitely somewhere in the middle, and then maybe even closer to where the Packers are positioning this, which is we reached out to Aaron Rodgers. We told him at the end of the season we wanted him part of our 2023 plans, and then we reached out in the offseason. We heard nothing from him. Nothing. And so as a result,
their feelings hurt.
No, but as a
jilted lover.
As a result, you got to start doing your job.
Yeah.
And so Gutekunst was saying, yes, we want Aaron Rodgers, but when we don't hear from Aaron Rodgers, we have to start assuming that Aaron Rodgers is either retiring or is, I don't know, going to disappear in a hole for the rest of his life. So they make the necessary steps to move him or start creating a path for Jordan Love to be their starting quarterback. And, I don't know who's at fault most of all. And honestly, it doesn't matter. But from my perspective, looking at it from the Jets' perspective, the Jets need to start taking control of this and this narrative and their future as opposed to letting it rest on the, emotions of what feel like two unstable pieces of this conversation, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Like, there's a disconnect. It's like a bad divorce.
Yeah, no,
right?
it's obviously
it's a
over.
Really bad divorce.
Well, but you keep saying the Jets need to take control of this. I think that every time they're in front of a camera, all they do is exude great control and
but I don't like
and confidence. Listen, Packers, you know where we are. You got the number. You know you don't want him. He doesn't want you. So let's go.
Yeah, but
there's nothing to worry about.
But they're also saying things like, "Oh, we're going to negotiate in good faith." What does that even mean?
I'll tell you what that means.
Good guys. I mean, winners aren't always the good guys.
I understand that, but you could appear honorable on the front of the stage just for perception around the league. That's part of becoming a big-time franchise.
Is it?
Yes.
I think
you can be cutthroat.
I think cutthroat makes you a big-time
you're cutthroat
franchise.
when it's time to make the deal, and you're cutthroat behind the scenes.
You do what the Rams do. You go get Von Miller. You go get Odell Beckham Jr. You go get Matt Stafford at the expense of whatever. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
We're doing it solely to win. Right, our focus is to win. The Saints are doing this too, by the way. Unbelievably, they're kicking the can down the line every single year, and it hasn't come back to bite them. I don't understand.
Well, they weren't that good last year.
They were terrible because they didn't have a quarterback.
Bucks won the division with a losing record.
But the end of the Drew Brees era.
Yeah, they did keep doing this.
Kicked it so many times, and they're still doing it. I don't understand.
Guys are going to kick themselves nowhere. They're not going to get beat good this year. Where are they going this year?
But my point is, the Rams did it to win a championship.
Yep.
The Jets have to stop being the good guy.
Now you see, you're worried about stuff that you can't quantify, stuff that doesn't matter.
Well, it's what I see.
Okay, I would worry about draft equity.
They do well.
No, I know. I would worry about cap imbalance. I would worry about instability on the coaching staff, and maybe that is revisited at some point during the season. Salah's got to start winning. We know that. But the things that really matter, the meat of a football team, the guts of a football team, I think the Jets have a really good pulse on. It's the other stuff that just fills shows and creates content that maybe you can kind of hijack a narrative and twist it any way you want. As a Jets fan, my guys seem in complete control. I got nothing to worry about. Packers the ones who were sweating.
No, Packers
absolutely.
The Packers have it.
Look, it's funny. Just as I said that, we have TV. Does Joe Douglas look nervous?
No.
He's got his sunglasses perched atop his bald, shiny head. He's got a little gray coming into the beard, nice and tan. Probably played some golf. Did he just look nervous?
No, but do you think he's getting?
Well, Gutekunst can't even speak.
Do you think that?
They didn't call. He didn't get back to us.
Do you think Joe Douglas is at all nervous about the situation?
No, because he knows that it's done.
Do you think he should be nervous about this
situation?
Not
one bit.
So
no.
I think it's
because I also think he's got a plan B, and I think the plan B is, and this is where you and I agree. I think where we kind of split is I don't need him to be public about it. As long as he's got that one guy with a little juice in the Ravens franchise that he used to work with. All right. Think about this, Teak. Imagine if tomorrow you and I went our separate ways from a radio, which we're not, but just imagine if we did, right? And there was, you went to company X and I stayed here or vice, whatever. But we split up, right? And we both pursued greener pastures or what we thought was greener, right?
Like Mike and Chris.
Yeah, like Mike and Chris. We should only be so lucky to get $4 million a year from Sirius. That's not happening.
BT, I hate you. I'm only making $3 million. You're making $6 million. I'm out.
Yeah.
See you, dude.
Yeah, very contentious. Now, listen, you pay me whatever. I'll go anywhere to do a show. But point being, and then there's something that we both want, or maybe there's a situation that can help us both out. And I'm dealing with another company, but you've got something desirable to me. All right? I know, given our relationship, that I can call you or text you. I'd call you for this. I'd say, Teak, listen, I need this. Help me out. Direct me. What do we got? What's the real deal? Give me the real scoop. Now, I'm not going to go on Twitter and announce it, but I know I've collected the intel necessary to put my next move in the best direction. And that's what Joe Douglas is doing.
Regardless of what we're seeing, the Jets, in my mind, need to take control of this for their own sake.
Everything I just you didn't agree with
the
word I just said.
I heard exactly what you're saying. I hope that they're doing this.
Yep.
I hope that they are.
Yep.
I hope that they are.
Who's got the hammer right now?
Their back channels.
Who's got the perceived hammer and who's got the actual hammer? Start with the perceived hammer.
Honestly, it's the Packers.
No, it's not.
You know why?
We've always disagreed on this.
You know why?
Why?
Because they still have the quarterback.
I understand that, but the quarterback detests them and has moved on, and he's done.
Until they start
talking.
talking.
And they got $100 million coming down their throat by by week 1.
True. If
he's not playing
if
there.
They decline either one of by the way, what BT's talking about, if they decline this massive option that we've talked about a lot, there's another one in 2024 also. 58 million this year, 47 next year. If they decline either one, all that money comes forward to the cap.
Of course it does. It's accelerated. 100% immediately.
And there's $100 million on the cap. So yes, but what happens if they start actually talking to instead of around each other, and he comes back to the Packers, or he says, you know what, it's been 18 glorious years. I'm going to retire a Packer because I think it's great. It's the best thing for my legacy. I have nothing else to prove. 4 MVPs. I got a championship. I want to leave the Packers in our good graces, and that saves the Packers from having his cap hit, and it leaves the Jets standing there empty-handed.
That's when you aggressively pivot to Lamar. I got a question for you.
Dude, he said he was 90% ready to retire.
But I don't forget about Rodgers for a moment, because your main thing is to have a plan B, a real one, right? Okay.
Well, yes, have control of this which seems to be somewhat spiraling situation.
Well, that's not the word that I would use, but all right, I got where you're going there. We just fundamentally disagree. What teams have lined up for Lamar? How long has Lamar Jackson been available to every team in the NFL?
What's today's
A couple
date?
weeks, right?
2 weeks, yes.
All right, 2 weeks. Has anybody even knocked on his door, let alone come with some crazy offer?
I don't know.
Well, first of all, we can obviously deduce which teams need a quarterback, and those who do basically said on social media, we don't want him.
Well,
the Falcons among them. The Dolphins said we're going. There's no market.
Well, I think a lot of that was because of the guaranteed money. Like when this thing first happened with the collusion stuff that everybody was talking about in the NFL, I think it was all because owners were saying we're not going to give Lamar Jackson guaranteed money. We are squashing that one, and we're going to squash it publicly, and if it makes him look bad, he's going to look bad. Because what the Browns did for Deshaun Watson is not going to become the norm. We are never going to have non-collectively bargained guaranteed contracts. So I get what you're saying. But with that being said, there is so much time on Lamar. So much time. Like, they don't have to make this decision until mid-July, right? When actually late July, when he has to sign the franchise tag. And so I think teams are going to figure out what the draft looks like, where the Ravens are with Lamar before they actually start making huge pushes. And there's a good chance, because he asked for a trade, that they negotiate a trade and then he signs his franchise tag offer and then they trade him for less or more or whatever, than the franchise tag would actually give them. I think Lamar is complicated, but you got to start doing work on it. And if I'm the Jets, I mean, not only is that my plan B, it's kind of inching closer as long as this thing keeps going on and getting more convoluted with Aaron Rodgers to being A1, 1A.
Now, that's where we disagree, but I think there are some people who agree with you. I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest that a fairly decent percentage of Jet fans at this point, because they're worried, I believe unnecessarily, that Rodgers might pivot, retire, the Packers might, the deal might get blown up. There are people out there that think that Jackson should be target 1 and 2. Forget about Rodgers at this point.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there, so I'm certainly open to the conversation. I see it differently. You see it one way. Eventually we'll get resolution. I think it's going to be very favorable for the Jets. But to Tiki's point, until it's done, it's not done.
Until it changes.
Doesn't change.
Doesn't change.
Until it changes. 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. Big week, Yanks and Mets, as we start the 2023 baseball season. Hopefully Dove is in a more better mood today. He was going wild, kind of cavalier on social media, just bombarding people with his thoughts on education versus opening day. It was getting very old. I had to check out of the conversation. It was... it was, quite frankly, it was a little bit much there, Dove, but we might revisit that at some point. All right, so we got you till 2. Just getting going out of the shoots here on a Tuesday. It's Tiki and Tierney on the Fan.